Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Had an interesting day. It has been very interesting. And the title for this is actually it's Be Kind, but be kind because everybody's going through something. And I've kind of done other podcasts that kind of resonate with this topic, but I'm going to get down and very, um, I guess, intimate, which intimate does not mean sexual. It can be, but it is not going to be on that. It means I'm going to let you know the ins and outs of what Cheryl and I've been going through. And I know I've been doing it a little bit, um, referring to it in past podcasts, but today is kind of right. It's the topic. It is what's going on with Cheryl and I, and I just want to know everybody that's going through something similarly that we need to support each other. So on that, yeah. To give you a little bit of background, Cheryl and I we struggled when she had her cancer back in 2015, 2016 because of the terrible expenses of the medical costs for her cancer treatment. And we had insurance. Insurance in this country is a joke. And it's inexcusable that we don't do something better. Really inexcusable. Especially when there's other countries around the world that are doing so much better. But I digress. That's what kind of started. I mean, Cheryl's cancer, and she beat it. Cost us $250,000, and I mean the hospital for 3 days was 85, and that just started the snowball going with expenses, and it just has continued to today. And I know people can relate, especially if you've had any medical in costs. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day that I mean an office visit's over $200. It's just like there's something wrong there, big time. Like most of the things in this country anymore, we just kind of ignore. And don't get me wrong, I love this country, but there are some things that have to be changed, or they're going to start losing people, and Cheryl and I are included in that. But I'm here to do something about it, and I'm not for sure what that is, and I hope that I can have a lot of people we can collaborate and find a solution. But anyway, going back to Cheryl's, cancer treatments and expense. So we did pretty good. She recovered in 2016. Did pretty good. I mean, we were working our butts off. Cheryl was cleaning over 30 houses. I was doing handyman for I don't know how many. For a while there, I had 150 clients. That was basically our life. I mean, they were awesome people. It wasn't that. It was just was our life. It was just like we'd get a little time on the weekend, and we did do more after her cancer treatments because we started doing little trips traveling, which we did when she was having treatments. But we still kept doing that, and they didn't cost much. So, and it was cool. And then it was just started. It I started trying to not trying. I don't like that word. Doing being a coach, and I really didn't care because with coaching, I was chasing, and I'm not a big fan of chasing. You should never chase, no matter what, from a church on down. And that's I think is a big problem with churches. They chase. If they're such a good church and with the Word of God, they shouldn't have to. They should attract. So on my soapbox there. Uh, but we were doing the quote unquote thing you should be doing. We had our jobs, and yeah, it was going our own right. And then I started having problems with my back. I could not be on a ladder. And Cheryl's to the point right now. She's been cleaning houses for 29 years. It'll be 30 years next year. And like she said, I am in pain all the time. One leg she kind of drags, and can't really go to the doctor. Can't go to physical therapy because even with insurance, which they don't pay a lot of it, um, can't afford it. And so, what good is affordable care insurance, which is not affordable, if we can't do what we need to do? So on that, went along, going good. Actually, we were doing some trips, just kind of learning how to do a bunch of stuff. I started Compass for Your Life. Started this podcast over 3 years ago. Actually, I've had a couple coaches, and then I have my trainer Caleb, and it was going good. And we actually got to go to Italy because it was with speaking, and my calling is definitely with my voice, not on stage exclusively, more like this, more on social media. That we needed to do something about all this because it's just like I knew I could see other people suffering. They were working all their time, no retirement, and it was just like, so where does this end? So Cheryl and I decided that we were going to try something different. And she's been losing people because either dying or retiring or whatever. So she's down to about half the people she was cleaning for, which, that's to go with the territory. And in past times, it always where she got somebody back almost immediately. This time, it's not working that way. Um, there's just, I think people are pinching their pennies so much because even the people with money are having problems because it's just gotten so expensive. It's just gotten to the point where it's gotten so much. It's just like we were looking back how much we've been going through cleaning because we've had plenty of time to do that, and how much stuff cost not that many years ago. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much stuff had gone up. Groceries specifically, my gosh, and insurance. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, for car insurance and home insurance, our car insurance was way more than when our vehicles were new. And our vehicles, my pickup's got almost 300,000 miles on it, and my car almost not quite 200,000. And we were paying way, way too much. And everybody's like, well, did you check around? Yes. Not a lot of difference. There is some difference, but it was with companies I did not know. And I want insurance that I can count on. And the car insurances have been all right. And the house insurance, but they're just getting to the point where it's getting prohibitive. And I can understand their side of it too. But look at it to today. And so Cheryl and I, we actually got to go on a trip to Italy with this group that does speaking with this awesome couple, Desiree and Jesse Cruz. Got to meet some amazing people in Italy, and it was cool. And then we came back, and I think this maybe was God's way of saying you got to do something different because we started, Cheryl started losing even more customers. I wasn't, it was just like, okay. And then somebody, and my sister included, which I can understand, go get a job, go get a job. And on the surface, that seems good. And maybe in the past that would have worked, but I know people that are doing 4 and 5 jobs that aren't making enough money to live. And the job is your time, and you don't make enough money after taxes to make it worth your while. If you have to drive it all, you're probably going to take a good share of it in depreciation and wear and tear on your car, and not getting much after they take the taxes out to make it worthwhile. So you got to do another job. So basically, you're working almost all your waking time doing a job and still not making it, barely making it ends meet. And then you are not going to have retirement. So your retirement is to basically work until you die. And Cheryl and I both agreed it's like, because we, especially after her medical expenses and stuff, it took our IRAs, it took everything, So we did not have anything. And it's just like, in Cheryl, this has been, and I can understand her, it's like, we got to do something different, which I 100% agree. But what is there in this country to do different? And everybody's like, well, you got to do these things online. We tried, I don't know how many things online, and not everybody, but a good share of the people were not legit. And there's so much. That's gotten so much worse too. Almost everything that approaches us now is sleaze. And it's just like, how can you do that to other people? I mean, there's a special place in, where for those kind of people. But I kind of maybe got a feel for them too because they're maybe desperate because they don't know how to make money. So they do in anything way they can. It's just like when a hungry animal is, needing to eat, they're going to do anything and everything. And I think a lot of people are hungry. The only people that aren't hungry are the people who have kicked back and have decided to let the government, which is $35, $35 would be great, 35 trillion in debt, or approximately. It's just like, so how's that going to work out for you when they basically don't have money for you anymore? Talking about getting hungry and, they'll probably do anything. It'll be like a ravenous animal. So Cheryl and I, we do things on the up and up, and we have met some awesome people that do the same. But we just are not going to settle. We're not going to go get a job. Cheryl's not going to be able to do jobs. She's going to have to do something different because her body's just is wearing out. And mine basically said no more handyman. I did 21 years, but it's just like, okay, so we have very understanding people, amazing people around us that have supported us in these last few months, the last 6 months approximately. But and today was my sister again. We have had twice, which I never in my life have had the electricity shut off from non-payment. But And granted, we're 100% electric where we're at because there's no other. I mean, there is propane, but we'd have to bring something in. So that could be it's an excuse. But I don't know how people pay electricity anymore. Um, it's just like last month's bill was like $600. Who can pay a utility bill? One thing for that. And this month was better, but it's just like that's one bill. How do you car insurance, health insurance? Because you still got to pay usually something for health insurance, even when it's covered or helped with the government. Yeah, because I think they say our premium is like $3,000 a month for Cheryl and I. And granted, we don't pay that because that is one thing that we have not had to pay. But it's just there's something really going wrong with this country. I mean, I think that's one reason why I've said in past ones why the younger generation is not working. Because why would you? You're not going to gain ground. They see no hope, and when you have if you lose hope, easy for me to say, people don't. They just don't do it. They're not going to, and I think that's why I think this generation's like this is not going to get me where I need to go. I'll just do the government, and that's tempting. Um, Kind of maybe short sighted, but tempting. But yeah, it's just Cheryl and I electricity. My sister paid for it again. She won't be doing it again. Um, I don't know. We're thinking about leaving the United States. We've already talked to a realtor. Uh, it's just like after being in Italy, it's just like there are so many things wrong in this country. Granted, there's a lot of things right, and the people are not the problem. We have a very, very bad government right now, and have had for quite a while, whether it's Republican or Democrat. They don't do their job, and I've talked to them about that before on this podcast. But where's it going to get better? Why aren't we in an uproar? Why aren't we just saying no? I think actually we should put the people in our government on a salary, or not salary, hourly wage, whatever you want to do it. If they don't do their job, they don't get paid. This thing where they just get a salary per year, it's not an incentive to do the right thing. It is just like, why wouldn't we do that? If you were working for somebody else, you would be on probably on that, unless you were in higher echelons of that company or something. Otherwise, you would be hourly. And I think if they didn't get their job done, they wouldn't get their pay or the benefits. I think that this health insurance for them and health insurance for us is discrimination, pure discrimination. And I think they need to be put up to, they should be brought to charges on that because they don't deserve any better than we are. And we are actually their boss. And like I said before, what we allow continues. So I think it's time to, take our government and piece by piece redo it. And I just think that this thing with the Affordable Care Act was only by the big powers and the drug companies. And the drug companies, like I've said before, and I want to get started on that. I don't think I would give them. I wouldn't let my worst enemy take any of their stuff because they aren't out there to help you. Anytime that they will let a drug or medication, whatever, that has the potential for causing death, which should never been passed, out there and just put it as a thing that, it's like, that's a side effect. It's like, yeah, it's a side effect. You don't have to worry about anything else after that. No. And the fact that they are ravenous about running every commercial on TV as a drug commercial. I mean, do you have an itch in the middle of your head that you can't take anymore? We've got a drug for that. And maybe I'm sarcastic, but I'm tired of it. Cheryl and I have done everything right. Cheryl and I were talking about that on the way back from where we had to call my sister because we don't have wireless service anymore. It's just like Cheryl's like, I've done everything. We tried to save. One medical expense ruined that. It's just like, why would we want to stay here? I mean, I love Nebraska. I love the United States. But I'm to the point where unless something changes, and we really, just like you don't see the farmers protesting over in Europe. Well, no, you don't see that on the news. I just wonder why we don't see, there's supposed to be news like that. It's just like, gosh, I wonder why we don't. We see this news that is fluff, most of it. They might put a few things in there, but they don't really, unless they have spun it, put it on there. And you're going to say I'm cynical, and just, and I am a little bit, but I'm tired of this because this keeps people from catching their dreams, which is most of us anymore. And I just see all these companies going broke because one thing, people can't afford to go shopping. They can barely afford to go get groceries. So how are they going to catch their dreams? Um, they're just wanting to keep us under control. And just like the smart cities, anything smart I would have in my house. I mean, I have a smartphone, which I've been just told by this guy that's basically a genius. He said I would never have his phone on because they tell you it's not listening. He's like, yeah, it is. And isn't it interesting when you talk about something, not talking to your phone, and all of a sudden you start seeing ads for it? Makes you wonder. I mean, and I'm not picking on anyone specifically because I think they all do it, but it's just like so they think that that thing where they had the arrogance to put us like you're going to be all doing not going to own anything by 2030, and you're going to be glad you have what you have. You're going to be eating bugs, and um, why aren't we in an outroar? I mean, maybe I'm the one that's supposed to get people riled up. I don't know. I don't really want to. I don't condone violence, but I just think that we need to do something different. And I think we need to. And I've told you this before. Give it to God, and just let and be still. And I know people are like, "Well, I've done that, and He didn't answer." And I've had that. I had that actually today. I asked God to help us with this electricity bill. He didn't. But I have also read that when you don't get what you ask for, He's got something better, which I have found. But I'm giving it to God. It's just, and somebody asks like, so if you lost everything, would you still wish, or still praise God and everything else? It's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be tough. You'd be really ticked off. But I do know that Cheryl and I are. I mean, we're down in the trenches with this. I mean, we still have our house, thankfully, because of kind people, kind bankers. Um, my kind siblings, and but it's just the point where Cheryl and I both have said we're done with this. We're not going to do anymore. If we sell the house and go to Europe, I mean, we've talked about health insurance over there in Italy. It's actually in Portugal. I have these friends in Portugal, and how like they were saying how much better the insurance is there from Canada, and I believe Canada is even worse than we are. I'm not a fan of their Mr. Trudeau at all. Very suspicious of him, and I think he's probably doing some of the stuff that, along with our government and whoever is the people that are head of this. And I think it's time we all need to wake up and say no more of this. And because this country used to be, you could get a dream, and I'm just, and it was tough because the dream's always tough. If you don't appreciate free. And that's why people that get free stuff don't appreciate it. They might if they're hungry, but if they just get it continually, they're going to not appreciate it. So, yeah, we just need to do something different. Just and be kind, because that's what I was talking about at the start of this podcast. Everybody's going through something, and it's just like when you see somebody on the street that's hungry, it's like, well, why don't you just go get a job? There's plenty of them around there. It's like, for one thing, they probably don't have a place to live to change clothes. They probably don't have a vehicle to get where they need to. They probably don't even have enough money to take mass transit. And then we look down, we judge, which I am guilty of that too. But we think it's like, well, why didn't you do something? And it's just like I told Cheryl, what if they didn't have somebody like my sister that could pay for our electricity bill today? We'd still be I wouldn't be doing this podcast. We'd be still trying to figure out somebody from my dad or somebody like that that could help pay. And I won't be doing it anymore. Today was the last time that's going to happen. No more. Um, no. I put up with a certain amount, and right now I'm at my end of that. I'm tired of health insurance. I'm tired of paying all these big bills that, I mean, it's just insurance has gotten crazy, and I can see why companies are saying they aren't going to insure these houses. It's just like, no, if you put a house by the edge of a, creek and wonder why it floods, maybe you should have thought of that before, and I don't know if they can charge enough premium to really get that back. And I mean, we see houses that are mansions that are being built in a town that's not too far from here. It's like it's only a matter of time before it floods, but we allow that. It's just like no. It's just like no. I don't unless you get insurance that's maybe specifically set up for that. I don't think if I were an insurance company, I wouldn't cover that. And I see both sides of it. I can understand why insurance has to be so much because of our government raising our prices so badly in the last few years. And they haven't done it, but yes, they have by indirectly have done it. Yeah, that the COVID thing that they did, they had to give us all that money, and I am. You're going to think that but I think it was a pandemic, and you can maybe disagree with me, but too many things point to that. It was just another level of getting people in fear, because when you can have people in fear, you control them, and yeah, what better way to do it than to have a pandemic that now they say is not much worse than your average cold or flu. It's just like, so what changed there? I wonder what that was. And I just I am cynical because I don't trust anything our government says anymore. And I used to. I used to think we had the best system, and I still think in Nebraska we do, and I think a lot of central states do. I think California and New York really need to look their stuff over. But the thing is, the statement the other day, it's easier to fool somebody than to convince them that they have been fooled. And I think that's where we're at in this country. I think a lot of people don't realize they've been fooled. And I'm independent. I'm not Democrat or Republican. And I think it's time for us to wake up. And it's like, no more. This country is too good for that. And our founding fathers would be just like some of these soldiers that were fought in World War II for what we have. I mean, I just saw a gentleman the other day. He's like, you're getting rid of all of it. You're ruining everything we fought for. And I would agree with him. I would definitely agree. The only thing that stayed the same is people are still kind. And that's why you want to be kind. I don't care. I if you're happy and you are loving, I don't care if you're gay, bi, whatever it is. I don't care. I think that is irrelevant, and I think that's where religion really comes in and does a disservice. And I've talked to you about that too. So I might as well go on religion too. I've done that in past times too. I think actually churches do a lot of disservice to people. I think the people that are receptive to it is good, but I think a lot of people are turned off by it because it's like it's preaching. It's and yeah, there is doctrine, and actually I'm reading an interesting book called The Shack, given to me by this awesome girl and her mom. They gifted it to me, and if you haven't read that, that is a very very good book. And it talks about that God doesn't like the hierarchy that we have in society in the human race. He says it was never meant to be that way. It was meant to be based on love. And I think there's a lot. That book is very very interesting. I'm not completely finished with it, but it is really thought provoking. And I am trying to read the Bible. I have basically doing an audio Bible because I have problems. I don't seem to comprehend when I read. I am doing pretty good with the Shack book, but yeah, I'm trying to learn all I can about this. But it's just like we got to do better in this country. And like I said last week's podcast, or last podcast, somebody should do something about it. We're all somebody, and I'm not leaving myself out. I am trying my darndest to come up with ideas that would be helpful to people, and kind of take the government out of the equation. It's just like Cheryl and I were talking about these companies. I'm not going to name the companies, but they kind of control a big share of the food market. But I see these farmers and producers are doing it themselves. And I think that's one way to do it. I think, when you produce and market the stuff yourself, you don't care about those big companies and you bid usually I would guess a better quality product and maybe for less money. I don't know. It may be more, but I don't know what to say on that. But it's just like, I think we need to maybe self-govern. I think we need to I think we need to take the government out of it. The government's supposed to run the government. They're not supposed to run our lives. That was never, ever the thing that was supposed to be done. They were never supposed to do this with the regulations and the smart cars that they're trying to put a kill switch in, and probably have already gotten it done for 2026. But or mandating the medications. There's nothing that the government was ever told that they should do that stuff. That was never their place. Their place is to run the government. And look at how they're doing that. And it's just like somebody was saying yesterday, these guys running the government sure seem to be able to become millionaires, but they can't run a government out of a deficit. I wonder what's going on there. So anyway, you're probably thinking, gee, Mark. But I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of what Cheryl and I are going through. And thankfully we have support behind us. But what are these people that don't have support? They would probably be on the street and somebody would be saying, why don't you get a job? And or go do something, make yourself better. And it's just like, yeah, Cheryl and I have 2 degrees. Cheryl has a couple degrees. Yeah, and still didn't help. We were much better off 10, 20 years ago, and by long, long ways. Had actually some hope. I'm losing hope really quickly, although God's always hope, and the American people in general are hope. Because people are great, and I meet so many awesome people doing this podcast. And anybody, I mean, when I met in Italy, people I meet around here, people when I travel wherever, are great people. So it's not the people. It is not the people. And I think if we all tie together and bypass the government on except for what they need to do, I think we'd have a better country. And I'm not for sure what that looks like. Um, but the government is, in my thing, the government is doing disservice to all of us. They're not helping, and I don't think they're trying to. They're trying to control us, and that's why they do what they do. Because the more fear they instill, just like these special reports, it's just like I turn them off. It's just like, oh my gosh, just another thing, fear mongering. They're very good at that, and I'm just amazed how many people fall for that. I guess if you don't know better, and you don't know better. Just like Cheryl and I were at a place this morning, and these ladies were sitting around talking about all their drugs they were taking. And it's just like, did you ever think maybe it might be better to try the natural way? Maybe change your diet? Granted, I have to say some of them probably did need the drugs, and I'm not a doctor. But it's just like they acted like it was the end all be all. And it's just like, yeah, but look at the side effects. And it's just like, well, that drug, you can take 2 more drugs to counteract those side effects. And just have to think. It's just like, really, is this really something I need to take, or could I do a different way? So, so on that, I'm gonna. I just thought I'd tell you that Cheryl and I are going through the trenches. God tells me this will be where I'm going through this for a reason, and I believe that. I believe everything happens at the time it's supposed to, the way it's supposed to. Very big believer in that, and it makes me understand this predicament all that much better. And because it's like, what do you do? And yeah, and we've got friends that are in the same predicament. They've worked their whole life and they don't have much to show for it. And what do you do? Because you're getting older every day. It's not a good thing. So we need better, and we can do better. And I don't know what the solution is, but there's a solution out there. There's always a solution, and just maybe as a collaboration together, we can all come up with something better. And on that, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Dreamcatcher podcast, and thanks for joining me. And we'll talk to you soon.